Hi, today I'm going to make some botanical prints using my jelly plate. So by botanical prints, I mean I'm going to take flowers from the garden, and you get two different types of prints doing this. You get a ghost, where you've taken the first print with the shape of the flowers, and then you get the positive, where you get the pattern of the flowers and leaves afterwards. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do some of them in two colours and some of them in just one colour and white. And I've got a variety of different papers. I've got some transparent textured papers. I've got some parchment paper, some rice paper, and some ordinary cartridge paper. And I'm going to try them out. But first, I need to go and get some flowers from the garden. Okay, so there are lots of different types of flowers. I'm trying to find ones that aren't too thick, the stems, because if they're too thick, the roller won't be able to roll over the top of them. So you need quite thin ones. So I've got some jelly plates, some new ones. Love new jelly plates. And I've got a variety of the papers and all sorts of different ones. And I'm going to try out, see which ones work best. I like the transparent textured papers. I think they're lovely. I also like the ordinary cartridge papers as well, are really good for the first roll, the first pull, when you go over the thick stems. So I'm going to be doing it in two different ways. So you ink up the jelly plate first of all, and then you arrange the flowers over the top and the leaves, and then you do the first pull where you put the thick paper, the cartridge paper, over the top and press that down with the roller, and that picks up all the excess ink from around the edges of the flowers and leaves. And then you take off that first one, which leaves white gaps where the flowers were, and then you put that to one side, and then you remove the flowers and the leaves, and it should leave the details, the imprint of them on the jelly. And that's when you put one of the thinner papers on, the transparent ones, so either the rice paper or the parchment paper or the textured transparent paper. You can use tissue paper, all sorts, or brown paper or book pages, anything you like, but thinner paper works best for that second pull. And then you pick up all the fine detail left by the imprint of the leaves. So I've rolled some green, and I'm using a combination of printer ink and acrylic, and just blending them together. So placing the leaves down and some flowers as well. I've tried to find the thinnest ones possible, but the stalks are quite stiff. So they are a bit thick. I'm going to have to, it's only May at the moment, early May. Once the garden gets going and there are lots of flowers to choose from, I'll be able to get the thinner ones and the thin leaves. But at the moment, there's a limited amount. So here we go. So I'm going to put the first paper over the top. Now this is the thin paper and it doesn't work because one, you've got the wet roller, and two, the actual flowers themselves are wet and the ink's very wet underneath it. And so it rips a bit in that bottom corner. There we go, I've just ripped it. So from that point on, every time I do the first pressing, I'm going to use cartridge paper instead, because I learnt my lesson from that. So taking off all the bits of leaves, and it leaves the impression. So now I'm going to use one of the transparent papers. So a bit of parchment paper there. It's much thinner paper. And rolling that in, and it should pick up all the fine detail. Let's see what that one looks like. And there we go. It's a bit patchy, but it was the first one. So trying a bit of white acrylic now and some blue acrylic, going for a different colour combination, and a hint of purple. And this is a much softer, it's not as thick and full-bodied as the printing ink. It spreads more, but I've obviously put far too much on, so I'm going to roll some off and get rid of it and make it a bit thinner. Still too much on there. So one problem that I have is that as I roll with the roller, it leaves the marks of the edges. It would be much better if I had a roller that was wider than that, the whole width of it, but I don't have one at the moment. So placing some more flowers, different arrangement this time, and leaves. See, they're very thick, chunky flowers, chunky leaves. We want the thinnest ones possible for the best results. But I just used whatever there was that was in the garden. Didn't have a huge amount of choice. There are a lot of bushes at the moment, and they're very thick stems and quite chunky leaves, and the only flowers that there were chunky. So that's thicker paper now. It works better on thicker paper because it's more solid and won't rip. And if there's some moisture on the leaves, then it won't come out as much. So I'm going in between those stems, one hand to hold it steady and the other one to roll it. There we go. So white marks where it is. You can see there's still some splotches left on there, and that's because I used the very thick plants. Now putting the thinner paper on. This is some of the textured paper. I do like this paper, it's lovely. I found that online. I've been buying loads of equipment this week. I bought a class set of the jelly plates, 11 in the box, 10 for other people and 1 for you. Here we go. That's a nice colour combination. I like that sort of china blue. That's lovely, that worked well. So trying the white again. It's quite a liquidy white, and I like that, the way it spreads. It helps the thicker paint spread. And that blue's quite thin as well. And it seems to work. I mean, a lot of people say use the full-bodied ink or paint, but when you do it, it's quite difficult to spread it. And if you're using acrylic, it dries so fast. Now that's a gorgeous colour. It dries so fast that it sticks the paper to it, and then you can get rips in the paper, you can get gaps where it's left patches. So I prefer to use the more liquidy one and do it quickly while it's still damp. So choose a few flowers, see what's left. Sometimes I reuse them and I'll turn them over and use them on the other side so that the clean side goes downwards, because whatever is on the bottom is what comes up on the top of the print. Those are pretty. There's an abundance of those white ones in the garden at the moment. They're sort of rockery flowers, and that's some cow parsley from at the end of the garden where the farmer's field is, and just sort of lean over the barrier and pick some of the farmer's cow parsley. I'm sure he doesn't need it. So that's the cartridge paper again for the first pull, and so I'm going horizontally and vertically to try and get more of the ink up from in between the flowers. Ideally, I'd just like just the actual leaves and flowers to be left and not the ink in between them. But again, there's quite a lot of ink left on there, so I think I might have done it too thickly. I mean, I love experimenting with these. You never know what you're going to get, and you can make so many of them so quickly that you can try out all sorts of different things. So I've done them with stencils, I've done them with layering, I've done them with photographs, and now it's botanicals. Okay, bit patchy. I preferred the last one, which had more detail. Yes, that one. Right, different colour combinations. I cleaned the plate because it was all blue residue left over, and I've now gone for something a bit brighter. So I've got pink and purple. And again, it's acrylic paint, not the printing ink. I did some with the printing ink as well, but it was a bit too gloopy. So I'm going to buy some new printing ink, because I do suspect that using the printing ink is probably best. Now those stalks are far too thick. I can see that from here. It's very, very lumpy, and it means you have to roll over it a few times to get round all the edges. But the more you roll over it, the more likely you are for it to move and get a shadow and not be a crisp print. Oh, but it's picked up rather a lot of it. That's done very well, actually. It picked up most of the ink off the jelly plate. Let's see what we get. This one looks like it might turn out nicely, because it's just left the detail of the leaves. So even though they were really thick, because I rolled over it quite a bit, look at that. Yes, it's picking it all up, leaving it nice and clean. Well, you can't really see it there, but there's a picture of it at the end when I've finished. I'm showing them all at the end, and you can see more detail then, because it's a bit closer. It's more of a close-up. That's a nice combination. Some lovely colours of paint, aren't they? They're really nice. I love the blues and the pinks and the purples. The green, meh. I prefer a more mossy green, goldy green. But these blues, beautiful. The blues and the pinks and purples. That's a nice, soft, thin leaf, which should print well. And I took off the stalks before putting it on this time to take away some of the bulk. However, that one looks very bulky. See what we get anyway. Lovely shade of blue. Now, if you move it while it's on the plate, then you'll get a shadow. So I'm pressing down as much as possible to get in between those. I have got a smaller roller, actually. Maybe I should do that next time and use a smaller roller in between. With these botanical prints, you can keep them just as they are, just as a print. I mean, I like those as well, the ones where you just have the shadows of them. But you can keep them as they are, or you can do two colours where you roll out one colour first, just a plain colour, and take a print without anything on it at all, and that can be the background. And then you do the printing process as we've been doing here over the top, and you print that on top of it. Obviously, you take the first one off on cartridge paper. Oh, that's good. That one's turned out very nicely. Okay, so a bit of cartridge paper. That was just trying to clean the board a bit, the plate. So a bit of pink and blue. See what we get. We get a purpley one for this. And so you can just have the prints as they are, or you can then work into them. You can create collages out of them. You can use them to build up other pictures. You can use them for collagraph printing. You can work onto them. You could sew into them. You could rip them and combine the different prints. You can use them to make further layers of jelly printing, or you can paint and draw and work into them. So lots of different things you can do. I'm just doing the botanicals straight as they are. I'm not working into any of them. I'll do that in a different video. I'll do a bit of experimenting first of all. And you could also use some stencils over the top of them and have the flowers just showing up as a background. They could be a very delicate background, and then you could build up stencils and layers over the top. So there's the cartridge paper again, over the thick chunky stems, a thick paper. So pick up all that residue ink from in between, trying not to move the paper too much. There we go. Oh, what a crisp. That's very nice. There's quite a little bit of blue left though. That flower was chunky. It was a really chunky one. So obviously couldn't get in between that there. However, I do like some of these wabi-sabi moments where mistakes happen and you think, oh, what's it going to look like? And sometimes you can get something beautiful. And if that section is too patchy, then I would I'd cut out the sections that work and then use, like those leaves on the right-hand side there are beautiful. In fact, the flowers are beautiful as well. So you can cut sections out and then use them as collage on top of other ones. So here we go, a few different ones. Now let's try a bit of colour combination, so 2 colours. So if I do a reddish plain background, just flat, nothing else there at all, and then put that to one side, and see that's the actual printing ink, which is much thicker, so I'm putting a little bit of pink in there just to make it thinner and to blend it a bit, and that way it will spread more evenly. So this is just going to be a plain red background, and then I'll put that paper to one side and then go through the whole printing process again by inking it up and putting the cartridge paper over the plants and taking off the ghost part. So I'm using the thin paper here to get just the red background. So this is going to be the final piece, but there's going to be an extra section in between now. So just a plain red. I like that, that's come out nicely. Put that to one side. Now ink up with, I'm just working out the placement first of all. How's it going to go? It's been heavily used, that flower. It's got a bit of purple on it, which might affect the outcome. Okay, that looks pretty. And, oh, and a big chunker. Okay, that might leave some patches. Right, so now put a contrasting colour, so blue to contrast with the red. And a bit of purple. So blue and purple is going to go on top of the red ink. So first of all, roll it out, then place the flowers. Getting a bit hasty there. Then place the flowers, then take the cartridge paper one where you remove the ink around the flowers, and then you can do the change the position of that. Then you can bring back the red paper and make a blue print over the top of the red, and that way you can get a 2-colour print. That's a pretty arrangement, that's nice. I'm a bit worried about the red flowers on the left though, because they are particularly chunky. So some cartridge paper. Yes, that bit there. The rest of it was quite thin, but that bit, yes, go over it again. Was it enough? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It's too patchy. Oh well, patchiness. So now put the red over there and we'll pick up the blue, which won't be perfect because of the big patchy area. Shouldn't have used those chunky flowers. But again, if there are some areas that are successful, which there are, those leaves are beautiful. If there are some areas that are successful, you can then use those and cut them out. You can cut round them and use them in a collage, or you can just use them for just parts, build up different layers. Doesn't have to be on a jelly printing pad either. You could just use them as layers on a different artwork. I've got a nice collection of all the different past prints, and some of them are oh, not that flower again. Some of them are stencils, some of them are layered colours, some of them are textured, some of them I've just run different implements over the top of the ink. Some of them I have layered up with photographs, all sorts of different things. And you can save them and then use them in combination with others. So I could use the botanical prints with the textured prints as a collage, or I could layer up more of them on top of each other, or I could just work into them with pen and ink, or paint over the top of them. Countless things you can do, but it's so nice to have them to choose from. It's nice to have that. Let's see how this turns out. Lovely, that's a really nice purple. I think this one's going to be very successful. Look how crisp that is. Lots of nice clear borders around it and very good detail. So this one I think is going to be beautiful. Let's see. Oh yes, look at that. That's lovely. Now that's what you want from a botanical print. Look at the detail there. Absolutely beautiful. I think that's the most successful one out of all of them. And I think this is the last one. And it's going to be a two-tone one. So turquoisey background. Put far too much on again. I need some paper to get rid of some of the excess ink there, which is what I'm doing over to the right. So if you put too much on, just take it off, do a few rolls, then get rid of your excess paint. Just smoothing out. Still seems to have quite a bit on there. I should really take another roll off there, but hey ho, chosen to do it that way. Beautiful colour. So let's see what the last one's like. I really liked the previous one. That turned out beautifully. So taking just a background colour, so I suppose it doesn't matter if it's that thick, does it? So there were two papers there, one to roll on because it was very thin. Okay, and this one is now going to be the texture, the detail, and it's going to go over the top of the turquoise. So we've got blue, a nice strong blue. There we go. So arrange the last set of flowers and leaves. It's the last set because I've used them all once now and they're all getting a bit mucky. They're getting a bit covered in the paint. So I should really go and get some new ones from the garden or just stop there for the day. So here's the cartridge paper over the top. Pick up all the residue. And I hope I get it all like I did with the last one because that one was really successful. And if you get one that isn't successful, just make another. They're so quick and easy to do that you can make lots of them. That's nice. A little bit of patchiness there, but quite a lot of detail, so that's good. Now I'm wondering if that's too similar to the turquoise. Blue on blue. Might be a bit too subtle. It's very thin paper. Is that the rice paper? Might be too thin. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Okay, that's nice. And here's the result. This is what we've got. Botanicals.